Hello, crafty friends. Welcome to day 4 of December Daily. And if it looks like I have a lot going on my desk, that's because I do. So yesterday, my advent calendar came in the mail. It was a little delayed. I was hoping to have it by the 1st, but it's actually perfect for a day 4 story. And all my Potterheads are gonna get the biggest kick out of this because look at the advent calendar I bought for myself. It is a Harry Potter Yule Ball themed advent calendar. I've already opened day 4, which is today. And so that's the story that I'm telling today. Now, when I read you my journaling in a little bit, some of you are going to be like, wow, she went really, really deep to document an advent calendar. But this story was more than just the products, and it was more than just the advent calendar. And again, I'll read you my journaling, which is really long, as per usual. Like, this is just what you get with me. So here's what I have on my desk. I have a photo of the 2 advent calendars, and I chose to print on matte photo paper this time because I liked the graphic. I printed it on matte and glossy, and I love the contrast of the matte photo paper, so I printed it on matte. This is Joshua's. He got a Marvel Funko Pop, and then mine is Harry Potter. I have this large 4, and these were from last year, and I'm hoarding them. So I'm making myself use at least 3 of them in this year's album. So I'm hoping I keep that promise. Sorry about that. There are cats running around. I take no responsibility for the chaos that they cause. I printed Joshua's first 4 Funko Pops and my first 4 2x2. And here's where we get really meta. I am making an advent calendar for my advent calendar. So Amy Jo had shared that her day 6 had a bunch of envelopes, and I was like, okay, so I have to figure out a way to integrate envelopes into my advent calendar. And then I saw pictures on Pinterest that people had like hanging advent calendars with envelopes. And then I had all these photos, and I was like, yep, I'm making an advent calendar. So I have these 2 pieces of paper. This is 12 by 8, so I cut it down in half. And then I have these 2 straws that are going to serve as my dowels, and they're going to go right across the top. And then I have a bunch of envelopes. So the 4 that are going to have my photos, I left open. And so they're going to hang just like that. And then I have a bunch of smaller ones that I've closed up just to like fill in the space. I have a bunch of smaller ones that I've closed up, and I'm going to hang them at varying heights. So I have that on my desk. The other thing I have on my desk are some numbers, and these are just numbers that I cut and foiled. I used Amy Gretchen's tutorial on how to use the foil quill. I was drawing a blank, the foil quill. So after I put my photos in, I'm going to put a little bit of Velcro, and I'm going to number them just so you can tell that this is still part of the day 4 story, because day 4 is going to be 3 pages. It's going to be this page like this, and then when you flip it, it's going to be the advent calendar. One more thing before I stop talking. This is definitely not going to be a chit chat type of process because I have a lot going on. What I'm going to do with my journaling today is something that I do in almost all my albums, which is where I do that little peekaboo flip where the journaling is hidden in the photo. It's an easy way to get a longer story told. And again, there are a lot of words here. And so what I did was I sized a canvas to 6 by 8 in Photoshop and centered my text. And my text is printed really small. I need to write less words. There's just so many words. So my text is printed really small, and then I recreated the rectangle. Like I took some measurements, I recreated the rectangle, and I'm just going to trim this out with an X-Acto knife, hopefully not ruin my photo, and I think that's it. So there is a lot going on. Remember yesterday I said that December Daily could be really quick, and then there's some days where you just have to do all the things. Today's one of those days where I'm doing all the things, and I hope it doesn't backfire, which is also why this video is going to get edited and cropped down, because it is 2:31, and I will let you guys know what time it is when I actually finish. So I'm going to put on some Christmas carols because I think I deserve them, and we're going to get to work. So happy day 4, and let's see how this goes. All right, crafty friends, so welcome to day 4. Full disclosure, this video was an hour long before I had to edit it, So there are lots of things cropped out. Unless you want to watch me fuss with the advent calendar I end up making that page. It took me a while to get things to lay the way I wanted to, and so I ended up trimming a lot of that out. I left enough of it so you could get the idea and see what I'm doing, but this video definitely is condensed. And so the story I'm telling is of these advent calendars. There's a few reasons why I wanted to tell this story. Joshua and I had started this tradition of making advent calendars for each other. So the 2 years we did it, we had given each other like a $10 a day limit because it's 24 gifts, so that adds up. And we shopped independently, and we wrapped the presents, and we hid them all over, and it was this huge thing we did. And then this year was really, really hard for us. If you follow me on Instagram, you might already know this, but Joshua's dad, my father-in-law, passed away in March. He had a very short but very, very gnarly battle with brain cancer, and so that just has put a dampening on the holidays. Like, you know, we're adults, and loss is a very real part of growing up, but we're also fairly young, and so like Christmas at Joshua's parents' house was like the highlight of my winter season. I would do Christmas at home, and then I would get to go upstate and do Christmas again with his family. And I cannot imagine how he's feeling because it's his dad. And so I didn't have the heart to bring up advent calendars this year. And then I found these online, and I couldn't help myself. So of course I bought them and I brought them home. And the story, like I said this yesterday, and I feel like I said this the day before, sometimes the words just like tumble out of you and there's nothing you can do. Like the words they literally fall out of you. And so I knew I wanted to do some journaling about buying this for him. And I was only going to buy one for him. And then I saw the Harry Potter one. So, of course, I had to buy one for myself because Harry Potter for life. Also, shout out again to all my Potterheads, because the amount of people that are in my comments and my DMs on Instagram telling me how much they love Harry Potter just makes me so happy. Like, I used to think that I was like a weird grown-up. We're still being obsessed. Like, I was like, when am I going to outgrow this? And then I realized that I don't have to. And then no one else seems to have outgrown it. So hello, wonderful people. Actually, here's the thing. If you make it all the way to the end of the video and you're planning on commenting anyway, tell me what house you would sort in if you went to Hogwarts, because I love knowing where my friends fall on the spectrum. I've always sorted Slytherin, and then I used to be like I used to hide it because Slytherin was the bad house, and now I'm like, nah, being Slytherin's awesome, and green's my favorite color, so it's kind of amazing. So, on screen, I am creating my envelopes. Like I said before, I just use the We Are Memory Keepers. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. A We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board to make the envelopes, and I have 4 envelopes sized to fit my 2x2 photos, and then I have a bunch of envelopes that are sized different sizes just to take up space. The other thing I'm doing is I'm trimming down the photo to create the flap. Like I said in my intro, I measured this out, and then I just used a ruler and an X-Acto knife. So sorry you had to look at my big head, because I kind of had to get pretty close to make sure that this looked okay and that this fit the way it was supposed to. And it's still not perfect. I did make a tiny mistake cutting one of the lines, but it worked out really well. And this is something that I do in all of my albums, and I vary the size of the flip up. Normally it is a bit smaller than it is today, but again, the journaling is massive and I had to make it fit. And then the photo was just of the 2 advent calendars on my desk. And like I said, I printed it on matte photo paper, and I also printed the first 4 items in the advent calendar. So before I go any further, I'm going to read my journaling to you. This is, I read it to Joshua before I put it in the album, and we definitely had a moment over it. It's so when, I don't know how to say this. The 5 love languages are very much a thing that I subscribe to, and the language that I receive love in is words of affirmation, and the language that I give love in is gifts. So anybody, like all my friends know that the way that I show I love them is by buying things for them. And it doesn't have to be like these giant things. It could be something small, like I bought someone a cup of coffee or like a cup of tea or something. And I really, really wanted to do the advent calendar again this year, and I just didn't have the heart to bring it up. So being able to just surprise him with this, because he was very much surprised. He had no idea it was coming. He actually got home before me, and so there's this giant box, and he's looking at me like, what's in this giant box? And then it was advent calendars for the both of us, so it was great. So I read the journaling to him, and I could tell that he felt exactly what I was saying. And that's why I write these letters, because even though the letter is to an inanimate box that's sitting on my desk, the letter's about him, and the letter's about our love, and the letter's about our year. And so you can take these inanimate objects and use them as a way to do facts and feelings and all the good stuff. So without further ado, here's my letter. It's a little long. It's a little emotional, so if I choke up a little bit, I'm sorry. Before I read the letter, so I did use this giant cork number, and I put some modeling paste on top of it. It is not the neatest job I've ever done, but I wanted it to have texture, so I just used some modeling paste. The stencil was from Ali Edwards December Daily like 3 or 4 years ago, and I just used stars because I wanted to have that star transparency, and I also added some stars elsewhere. So while you're watching me work, here's the letter. Dear Funko Pop Advent Calendar, you are such a welcome addition to this season of light. In 2017 and 2018, Joshua and I DIY'd Advent gifts for each other, hiding them in the most random of places and delighting in all the little bits of love we packaged for each other. This year, in light of grief and loss and all the hard times that seem to characterize 2019 for our little family, we decided to forego the shopping and the wrapping because finding the magic and joy it would take for us to hunt and hide the trinkets was beyond us. Then I found you online. I promised I wasn't searching for you, and I promised I had no intention of shopping on Black Friday. And you tumbled into my shopping cart and flew through the mail and arrived at our doorstep, and oh, did Joshua light up when I took you out of the box and handed you over. As much as I love finding joy in my life, there's something about seeing joy on the face of those you love that magnifies it until it fills your chest and you can't breathe around the weight of it. We opened the first 3 days rapidly, taking turns guessing which Marvel character came out of his and which Harry Potter character would come out of mine. Spoiler alert, so far Luna's my favorite. I'm amazed that something so small could have had such a big impact on our season, and that this little bit of joy could be multiplied and expanded upon each time we open a door. My friend Brandy Kincaid is a master wordsmith, and yesterday she shared that struggle and hope are not mutually exclusive. And can't words cut you open and put you back together better than before? And this little box of magic has crystallized and condensed that sentiment into something real and tangible until it became a way to resolve the day's struggle with a little bit of hope and light. This box feels like kintsugi, like fixing broken things with gold, like filling in and repairing the small cracks and big breaks that were stopping me from diving into this season. I needed to see him smile, to see him light up like my favorite twinkling lights on the tree, to see love put into action, to share some happy with him. So yeah, thanks for showing up, and thanks for continuing to show up, and thanks in advance for the daily smiles and the laughter Joshua and I are going to share. Also, Harry Potter and that green and silver life forever and always. So yeah, I started writing about an advent calendar, and then it just became something bigger than an advent calendar. So many of you have told me that I've inspired you to use letter writing as a form of journaling for this project. And to all of you that are doing that, I say go deeper. Start with the small things. Start with the object that you're writing to, and then write about how that makes you feel. Past what you see and what you taste and everything else. What do you feel when you look at that? When you're holding the object that you're writing to, when you're looking at the experience that you're writing about, or even the person that you're writing to, what does that make you feel? And go past whatever's at the surface. So I had every intention of writing a note about finally having an advent calendar after not having an advent calendar before. And I ended up with this letter about my husband and about what our year has looked like. And it worked so well for this story that I'm so happy that I sat down and trusted the process. So again, to all of you who are asking me how to write better letters or just write better in general, trust the process. Writing is an exercise, and you have to exercise it. It's a muscle. You just got to work on it and build it and let the words come. And I promise you, you're going to love what ends up on the page when it's over. So my little rant is over now. We're going to go back to the process. So I have assembled my flip up. I have covered my number 4 in modeling paste. We are going to work on the advent calendar page. And I had this lofty idea. So before I even started on the advent calendar page, I talk to my husband about my crafting all the time. He is my biggest supporter. He is my soundboard. He's who I bounce ideas off of. I had this idea for the cards, and I thought that I was only going to do it on one page. And then he was like, well, why don't you give yourself space and do it on two? And I was like, you're brilliant. This is why I married you. So I decided to do a 12x8 spread for the advent calendar. And like I said, I used some straws that I had in my stash as the dowels to add the envelopes and everything too. And then I used some embroidery floss to attach the envelopes to the dowels. This took so much fussing and so much faffing about with it to get it to sit the way I wanted it to, that I almost like threw them all in the garbage and started over. Like there were definitely at least twice where I was like, Tashiana, you might be doing too much with this and you might want to reevaluate where you're going. And then I had the vision and I was like, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to stick to the vision. And by the universe, I am so happy I stuck to it because this page is my favorite. Also, I know I said I was going to probably end up with one album at the end of 2019. The odds of that happening are dwindling every single day. I'm going to have to commit to using my foundation pages for most of the month and stop making new things every day. That's going to be the only way that I get one album at the end of the month because there's still so much in it from foundation pages that I haven't even used yet. So the papers that I use to make my envelopes are from Crepe Paper Merry Days and Crepe Paper Snowflake. And then after I attached it to like my dowel system, I pulled out some of the clear stickers from Snowflake and some of the puffy stickers from Snowflake just to embellish some of the envelopes. And like I said in my intro, the numbers that I had attached to the envelopes were just numbers that I had cut. Amy Gretchen has a great tutorial on how to use the foil quill to do like an offset number where you can add some foil to it. So that's how I did it. I promise you I didn't come up with the idea. I'm not nearly tech savvy enough it takes to do that. So if you want to see how I did this, go over to Amy Gretchen's channel and watch the video because it is a great tutorial if you have the foil quill. And the foil quill is a great like tool to have. Like I'm going to be foiling all the things. So after I created my advent calendar and embellished it, I used red line tape to stick the straws back to the paper because I felt like that was the safest adhesive that would last the test of time. Also off camera, after I finished the book, and you'll see it in the pages, in the photos I take, I ended up sticking down the envelopes that are empty because they were flapping around too much every time I went to turn the page and it was just becoming really cumbersome. So I stuck them down and then I left the 4 envelopes that have the photos in. I left those free hanging so then as you turn the page, those can move because I did want a little bit of movement, but I was getting way too much movement. I attached it to my photo, punched some holes in it and called it. Nope, I'm lying. I did do one more thing. To my number 4, I added some more stars because the background paper that I use for my advent calendar has stars. And then I had the star to remind myself that there was a flip up page on my photo. So I just did the reverse. On my photo, I used a green chipboard sticker and then a smaller star. So then on the number 4, I just used a bigger gold star and then a smaller green chipboard star and did the same thing. I layered it. I pulled off most of the chipboard just so it wasn't two-dimensional. I don't know why I'm fighting the dimension. Like, dimension and I are friends at this point, so I should just stop fighting and go with it. But I'm doing my best, my utmost best to end up with one album in 2019. And that's what I did for day 4. I am obsessed with how this came out. Like, I love when you have, like, have you ever seen the A-Team and the, I forgot his name, but I think it's like Hannibal. He has this line where he says, I love when a plan comes together. That's how I feel about my scrapbooking. Every now and then I have this crazy idea and I cross my fingers that it worked. And this time it actually worked. So I love how this looks in the album. That's all I have for right now. So thank you so much for watching. I know I'm a bit ahead of the video, but I wanted to just have a little bit of time to talk to you guys, to thank you for coming to my channel every day. There are so many of you that literally show up every single time and leave me the sweetest comments. And if you guys only knew how grateful I was for you and for this community that I have built in my corner of the internet, like honestly, talking to you guys at the end of the day is sometimes the highlight of my day when I'm like at work and at school and I don't want to be doing what I have to do. I can go on YouTube and respond to comments and talk to you guys. And it's a wonderful thing. So thank you. Thank you for coming back. If this is your first time here, I have day 1, 2, and 3 process videos already up. I have a playlist with my December daily videos, so you can just go to that and watch those. And, you know, I hope you stay around. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I've tried my hardest to not end up with another 20-minute video today, and I did not succeed. But I think I edited this down enough that you can follow the process, but hopefully I didn't bore you to tears. Day 5, because I already have the foundation pages, day 5 will hopefully be shorter. So that's December Daily. It's a mix of like these huge projects and the smaller stories, and the sum of it is greater than all these individual parts. So I'm going to have some still photos right after this, and that's all I have. So till tomorrow, because I have kept my promise to upload every day, till tomorrow, keep it crafty, friends, and have the very best day. And I love you all to bits. Absolutely to bits.